Hey everyone, I'm back. I took a bit of a break last week and I didn't make a video because I needed to catch up on some of my house projects that I am very thoroughly behind on. And to be honest, I'm still thoroughly behind, but I'm less thoroughly behind than I previously was. But anyway, I'm working on things in the background. There's a lot of stuff going on these days. But today is a very exciting day because the day that I'm recording this is the day that the new Tacoma came out. I guess by came out, I mean it was revealed because I don't think that they're going to be shipping these right away. It doesn't even have a price yet, at least not a public one. But the new Tacoma, a bunch of other features have been added. But one of the main things I noticed with small trucks these days, and this goes for the Colorado, the Ranger, and now the Tacoma, they're all limited to 4-cylinder engines. I think it's only the Frontier and the Jeep Gladiator, at least in North America. This really only applies to North America, that have V6 options. And the Gladiator has a diesel option as well, which is unique. But it's just very interesting to see trucks go from big lumbering V8s, and usually trucks in the past would have huge engines, down to small 4-cylinder turbos. And I thought today we would see a bit of a return on things with a twist. Let's make a muscle truck. Now, when I say muscle truck, generally the first thing that comes to your mind might be the Shelby F-150, or maybe the Viper-powered Dodge Ram. I think it's the RT10 version. That thing is pretty ridiculous. When I'm thinking muscle trucks, I'm thinking like the Toyota X-Runner or the ancient S10 Extreme, if you remember those. Because the big ones still exist, like the Shelbys, they still make those. The Roush-powered F-150s, they still make those. But small muscle trucks, they seem to have just disappeared. So today we're going back into the era of tuner/muscle trucks of old. Specifically, this is 1985. Actually, let me set the date back to 1985. I hardly ever use this feature in automation to be able to change the date back. Our technology is going to be limited, but let's make something cool. I'll admit the way that this is going to be styled is not quite 1985. I wasn't around then. I don't know what the predominant things were in that day. Let's go with some basic truck stuff. That means steel panels, that means ladder chassis, although we could possibly get away with the light truck monocoque. I think in this case ladder just makes sense. We'll have to see what the suspension will give us. Longitudinal engine, this is tough. So older trucks back in the day often had solid front axles, so it would be like leaf springs or coils. But for the sake of this build, we're trying to make something a little bit more sporty, a little bit quicker in the cornering perhaps, and to do that we're going to need double wishbone on the front. Solid axles do not steer very well. And this would be like a pre-runner setup, I guess, but we could go for leaf springs in the back. I think I'm going to try coils. We'll probably end up having to jump up to double wishbone at some point, but for now, we'll keep it solid axle. So what I was saying before is actually incorrect when it comes to the Ranger. The V6 options are in the newest body style, whereas previously it was limited to a 2.4 liter turbo, or I think a 2.3, something like that. But the new ones are all V6s shared with the Bronco, which is cool. And all of them are turbo because, again, like, turbo everything these days. I guess that's how they meet emissions standards. So that means it's just the Colorado and the Tacoma that are limited to 4 cylinders. Although, I mean, eventually they're all going to become that, if not electric at some point. For the sake of my 1985 muscle truck build, the real response is probably just to make it like a 90-degree V6, like a cast V6, maybe 4.3 liters, hint, hint, something like this, maybe 4.3 liters. That would be realistic, but I want to do something a little bit different. We're going to keep the same sort of setup, but I'm going to twin turbo it because I want to. Let's go overhead cam, so it's going to be a very modern engine for this period. 2 valves per cylinder, nothing crazy. And yeah, it's going to be a 4.3 liter with bigger bores and a shorter stroke. Hopefully that means we can get up to a decent RPM and not be struggling so much with high RPM stuff. Let's keep it all cast for now. Actually, aluminum heads, maybe, I don't know. I'm going to go for a basic cast internals, but with forged pistons and a harmonic dampener, just to keep it a little quieter, a little bit smoother. And moving up here, no VVT or anything like that. And turbos. Ooh, we could go single turbo. Nah, 2 turbos. This is going to be true muscle. I think I'm going to aim for around 300 horsepower, which is very normal for trucks these days. And I think that'll be decent. It doesn't need to be that crazy. Let's do, okay, we don't have direct injection as an option. Let's do single point EFI. Oh no. Performance mid intake maybe? Oh, that is really awful. See, multi-point EFI just looks too modern in this case. Maybe I can, this would be like a Corvette style of old, but single point is just, it's basically a glorified carburetor. I might not be able to get the power I want to get out of this, but there's only one way to find out. Mid headers should do it, and I think I'm gonna go, man, this is already a mistake. Let's go no intercooler. We'll just cut that thing straight off. Straight out of the gate, we're making a pretty cool 250 horsepower, which is actually not terrible, and that is without the turbo being tuned at all. If I just quickly go over here and hit like a sport preset, this is gonna hopefully drastically change things for the worse. Okay, wow, everything is broken. Wow, we can make 430 horsepower with this setup fairly easily, actually. Just increasing the intercooler gets us up to 450 horsepower. That's crazy. Conrods are absolutely not taking it. They can only do 400 or 530 newton meters of torque, and we're currently at 660. That's what I call a design flaw. You know what, those power numbers I was talking about, I'm throwing them straight out the window. I'm gonna go for an AI tune for power and just kind of see where it ends up, but we know we can at least make 450. Come on then. It's got a decent amount of turbo lag. It's definitely got some lag in the torque as well, which is very 80s, so I'm considering this to be, I mean, is this more powerful than the Corvette in 1985? I wouldn't be surprised. We've got another Buick on our hands here. This thing is probably going to be exceptionally fast with this power plant. I'm excited to throw it in there, so let's do it. 420 horsepower, 680 newton meters of torque. That's got to be good enough. Okay, so first thing I noticed about this body is that the back end here just seems to be a little bit bigger than I would have thought. So yeah, we're going long box-ish. It's a longer box, maybe not the fullest of long boxes, but it should work for this purpose. I gotta decide what I want to do though. How wide are we going? Are we gonna go X-Runner? Are we gonna try and go for period correct styling? I don't even know. I think I'm just gonna cinch everything in there. That's what that adjustment does. Kind of brings in the bottom a little bit so I can put some accents on it. Fender flares that are off-colored. I think you know exactly where this is going. Okay, you can raise the entire top of this truck to make it taller, which is very strange for an automation body. I'm going to shrink it down. Lower bed height is actually a good thing. I mean, it's higher is better when you're pulling or when you're actually got something in the bed, but it's a lot harder to get into. Modern trucks these days, it's pretty tough to get stuff into the bed sometimes. So this body is kind of a Toyota-esque vehicle. I mean, we explored this one pretty thoroughly in one of the recent showcases, and I say recent as though it was recent, but it's been a while since the last showcase. Apologies in advance for that. We'll talk about more later. Alright, it's time to style this thing up. What the heck am I gonna do to try and make it realistic-ish? Good question. So I have some ideas. Most of them involve these taillights or these headlights here. I tend to like these sort of square-esque ones, especially stuff like this. Fits really well with this sort of time period. I think, yeah, something along these lines is going to be perfect for this build. Oh my goodness, it looks like a Cavalier. What have I done? I can't really say too much about this one other than I tried to make it plasticky, and I've been very, very successful at that. So basically what I'm trying to do is establish kind of a look for it, and then after we have the basic look, we can go ahead and start adding some of the extra features that come with being a muscle truck or an extreme or whatever it happens to be. So I realize I haven't said anything for like 20 real-time minutes, but yeah, so I've been working on this slowly. Basically what I've done is I've gone ahead and just kind of two-toned it a little bit. The colors are temporary, but I just wanted to get an idea of what I'm working with. But basically the entire bottom of this is going to be plastic because I just think that's really cool. And then I'm sort of deciding on a base color for the rest of it. I was thinking like a brown perhaps, just kind of go ahead and casually bring it back over to paint, and then brown? A little bit lighter than this, maybe. A little bit less than this. All right, so what do you think about yellow on black on brown? I think it actually looks really good. I was gonna go brown and then like yellow accents, but I ended up choosing to go yellow with brown accents and then black plastic trim. I just feel like this is sort of a good like 80s vibe, and honestly, I really dig that yellow. That's really cool. I tend to like red cars more than yellow, but man, some exceptions can be made. Let's go ahead and just kind of stick some exhaust at the back of this. Yeah, I gotta do something about this whole back end situation and literally everything else about it. It doesn't look muscly at all. It just looks like a forest truck. And then you notice it has a twin turbo 440 horsepower V6. That's a lot of power. So I was thinking about putting a trailer hitch on this, and then I realized, like, wait a minute. Sport truck? Nah. No trailers. It doesn't pull anything except its own weight and whatever they decide to put in the back of this kind of shallow bed. Okay, we got the basics of the design down. I think it's actually pretty much perfect the way that it is, but it's time to extremify this, or X-runner this, or whatever we're going to call it. And its purpose is going to be racing instead of like on the dirt or anything like that. It'll be pavement. I feel like I can do a lot with that. I did add a little bit of a piece of something here just because I think that's really cool, but the base design is done. Now let's make it worse. Okay, I keep wanting to change my mind and go pre-runner. I'm like hovering over the four-wheel drive button, like please let me go pre-runner, but I gotta keep the theme muscle, street truck. Man, I love off-road stuff. That's too bad. I gotta change my mind here and do only street. I'm gonna give it an LSD, which will hopefully help with the rear end getting a little squirrely, because you know this thing is gonna get extremely squirrely. Alright, the back is done. I've added a little extreme because they just ran out of letters because they added an extra one into the back here. Don't sue me. But I've also added a little bit of a lip at the back just because I think that's cool. We've got exhaust pipes. I've lowered the truck significantly. It does have a bit of a rake to it, which is really cool. I like how the back end sits a little bit lower than the front. I don't know, I just find that to be interesting. The front, I do want to do something with that. We got to do something up here with the hood. But other than that, it's a very understated muscle truck. I kind of... It's not really fitting the definition as well as I had hoped it would, but I do really like the way that it's turned out, and I don't want to ruin it, so I'm kind of feeling that we stay sort of here-ish for now. But the best part about automation is you could always just duplicate something and then completely ruin it later by making a ridiculous model of it, which I may or may not end up doing at some point. If you're interested, I can always do more. Is a shaker hood too much for this? I think it might be just a little too much. Okay, so I've settled for this. I just realized I'm missing an antenna, but other than that, it's oh, and I don't have a gas cap either. I should probably add one of those. But other than that, it's pretty much fine. I don't really know what to say. I failed in my objective at making like a true muscle truck, but at the same time, I feel like I've been successful in other aspects, specifically in terms of making something that's just generally kind of cool and also looks the retro part. I don't know. I think it's cool. So let's take it off into BeamNG, but first, obviously, we got to finish the build. I've already skipped ahead a little bit, just trying to make the thing a little bit more, I don't know, realistic. Basically, we got a lot of graphs to look through, so get ready for that. 5-speed manual, because of course, I think top speed is going to be somewhere here. I don't intend to make this one electric, so gears actually matter, which is unfortunate. Maybe top speed, about 70 in first gear should be good. Automation has not gotten an update in a while, so you know they're cooking up something big, and I'm excited to get that update when they add actual like gear ratio tuning. It's going to be great. Clutched LSD, I believe I talked about that before. Wheels, I don't know. They're pretty fat already. Obviously, the back matters more than the front does on this thing. It does have good sportiness. It is into the oversteer category. It is obviously going to be a bit of a problem due to the fact that it's rear-wheel drive and it's got no weight in the back at all. But I think 255s is pretty much as big as we can get reasonably, so that's what I'm going to go for. Obviously, I could make them huge, but I just kind of like this. Wheels themselves, if you measure up the size, they're 255 80 R17s, which is not completely unrealistic. So, I mean, they're probably a little bit big in terms of the sidewall, but I think that's kind of cool. I don't know. 17-inch wheels on this thing do not look that big at all. Like, if we drop down to 16, it's tiny. So the brakes absolutely suck, and it's very, very angry at me for making them suck. So I'm going to increase the size of them significantly. That's not much. Okay, we might have to go solid disc brakes in the back. I wasn't intending for that, but I guess maybe. Okay, we'll go 4 pistons. That's a lot of brakes for a truck. Solid discs. 2 pistons in the back, come on. Okay, that's a lot better. It's still not amazing, but this thing won't have ABS, so yeah, that's better. Not beautiful, but the brakes are kind of hidden behind the wheels anyway. They're a little bit too big for the 80s, but this is what we got to go with in order to please the game, so that's what I'm doing. Here I went with semi-clad. We actually have uplift, but I don't really care about any of this stuff. I'm going with a bench seat on the front, standard interior, standard cassette, nothing fancy, nothing crazy. Manual steering, 80s safety, no traction aids, and suspension is all just standard stuff with a sport-ish preset. I say ish because it's been modified slightly, and the ride height was lowered. I didn't actually lower it at the back at all, by the way. It's just naturally kind of like this, so yeah, I'm pleased. I think it's time that we take it into BeamNG.drive. Alright, so here we are in the industrial map, and the reason I came here was just really to change up the scenery a little bit. Before we get going, let's listen to the sound of this thing in the garage. Pretty good, actually, although it is a little bit quiet. I did put a muffler on it. Maybe that was a mistake. So I'm using my normal setup for this, just my Xbox controller and such. I'm not using my new sim rig, which was featured in one of my recent videos. You should totally watch it. And the reason for that is I'm just not ready yet. I haven't fixed that computer yet, and I will be able to hopefully use that soon, but not quite yet. We're getting there. Soon I'll be driving all of these cars in my dedicated sim rig thing once I get my office finished, and it's going to make a big difference in how these sort of finishes come up. What I'm planning on doing, hopefully, and I hope to remember to do this because I keep coming up with ideas and then forgetting, but I'm going to try to start a bit of a series at the end of these videos where I'm doing a lap of a specific track using the actual sim rig in every single one, and I'm hoping that that will bring some consistency to things and also improve my driving for future showcases, and that'll also force me to use it every single week when I make one of these videos, which is harder than it seems sometimes. So let's talk about the toy Boda. Good and bad so far running around the track. First thing, good, it makes great noises, it drives decently, but it's hard to know because putting the power down is difficult when it's two-wheel drive. It does have an ESC, or sorry, it does have an LSD, too many acronyms here in this place, but it still likes to spin out very, very easily and quickly without any ABS or traction control. As I am a very mediocre driver in a lot of these games, and just kind of games in general, I tend to lose the back end a little bit often with this thing, but I mean, it drifts really well. There's nothing holding me back from spinning the wheels as I please. Oh, except when I'm in first gear and I really shouldn't be. Second gear is where it's at, boys. Yes, please. It can do a burnout very, very easily with that 440 horsepower. I did tune it up a little bit if you're wondering, that's why it's more. Muscle truck! Yes! Ah man, the yellow is really working for me. The brown, I don't know, I just wanted something dark that wasn't black because it has black plastic trim. And I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. When I was originally planning this, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make basically my own version of the X-Runner or the Extreme with like a full-on tuner-style body kit and all that. And then as I was getting into it more, I just kind of felt like this was a lot more 80s, the kind of subtlety, at least in terms of design, but non-subtlety in terms of color. You can probably guess, but I'm a product of the mid-90s, so I don't really know anything about the 80s. I wasn't really around at that point. Definitely a 90s kid, but even then I'm only a half 90s kid. Ooh, that looks pretty interesting. Let's go ahead and try some I guess, off-course type stuff. I wouldn't call this off-road, but definitely off-course. I don't think I'm gonna have a problem on this, but what's lurking behind here could be worse. So yeah, it's been a while since I made one of these videos. It honestly feels like ages, but it's only been 2 weeks, I guess, because of the 1 week break, and then me posting these once a week. I've been struggling in my head a lot about what to do with this channel. It seems kind of strange to say that, considering I've been on a bit of a roll since about 2014 or so. Oh, that's the end of the map. Okay. Yeah, the brakes brakes are a little weak. Oh, I just realized the reason it feels like it's been so long is because it has. The last time I made an automation video was 3 weeks ago. And that's because the real last video I made was the SimRig one, which was not automation at all and completely different, but a lot of pressure on myself and something that took me a long time to make, and I was thinking a lot about it. And we had somebody or a company helping me out with that as well, and they're continuing to do so. So things are going interestingly here. I don't know. I just think at the end of the day, my goal for the channel and my dream is not necessarily to be doing this kind of video forever. It's always important to adapt and change your YouTube channel, but a lot of YouTubers get it wrong. And I'm definitely somebody who's gotten it wrong in a lot of ways. Like, there was an entire year at one point where I tried to make this channel something that it wasn't, and the views definitely showed how wrong I was about things. I like numbers a lot, and when I see things go down, I get worried. And yeah, since I didn't post last week, things have gone way down. But I'm hopeful to make a bit of a comeback here, and ultimately I would say that my goal for this channel is not to be doing automation forever, but instead to be able to mix it with other things. And those other things are, well, stuff that I'm interested in. Like, I did a video on RCs a while ago, and that was a lot of fun. 2 weeks ago, as I talked about previously, I made that video on the SimRig, which was more of an IRL building video, and I thought that was a lot of fun too. And I was like, man, I wish I could do this every single time. But, you know, that's just a bad idea. It just makes me think of some of the older big popular channels from GTA 5. The game's been out for ages at this point, and a lot of the older GTA 5 channels that got big on GTA 5 really failed to adapt to any other game and just didn't have staying power, I guess. Even huge ones, like, I can give you an example, but I probably shouldn't. You can probably think of what I'm talking about, but once GTA 5 sort of dried up, and I'm not saying that the game is dead or anything like that, but if you make videos on one game for years and years, you're gonna run out of inspiration. And GTA 6 is, I mean, coming eventually, but it's not here yet, and it won't be for a couple of years. So if your main game is one that you're sick of, then what do you do? And that's sort of the big thing. Is your audience of 12 million subscribers or whatever it is actually going to follow you? In some cases, not. I think I have an interesting opportunity as a smaller channel to fix the wrongs of my past, because the goal is eventually that we can only get bigger from here. I keep stalling this truck, by the way. I'm having issues driving it. I suck. But at the same time, in my discussion, every time I do something new, I'm risking the audience in a lot of ways. And it's good that this isn't my job, because I can afford to take a risk. Like, I don't rely on YouTube income, but it is a big part of my household income, and it's important, right? So I can't just be like, I'm not making videos ever again, because that would be pretty devastating. So I have to strike a balance, and that's where this entire discussion kind of comes to a point. And the reason why I wanted to bring it up with you who've stuck around this far in the video, like, my question to you is, why do you watch my videos? What is it about my videos that you actually like? Is it the editing? Is it the game itself? I won't feel bad if you say that, because I think that that's the majority of people are here for this game, and also for automation itself, and not necessarily for me and what I bring to it. Which is fine. It just means that in the future, if I do decide to change, you'll know exactly who will be left and who won't. And that's kind of, I don't know, something that's been heavy on my mind these days. I gotta do more. I gotta try and do some other stuff. And looking at some of my past things, even if stuff doesn't become successful immediately, that doesn't mean it's not successful in the long run. Stuff like the SnowRunner series has actually been pretty popular over time, and I really want to go back to it. So yeah, eventually I'll do that. Hopefully soon. My goodness, I really want to do something different. But until then, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and yeah, we can only hope that automation gets some big updates soon, changes the game, and really makes things special, because I'm excited for that, and I'm hopeful to be covering it in the future. Maybe even early access to things. I'll just have to contact the devs and see if they'll let me into the betas and stuff, that I can show off some of the new features of this game and more coming up in the near future. But yeah, I'm such a scatterbrained person. Like, if this YouTube channel was one where I could post anything and then people would actually watch it, there would be so much random stuff on here. I don't know, man. Anything that I'm working on at any given time, I would definitely try to make a video about. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you're interested in what's up in the future. I'll see you again very soon, and yeah, more community events and stuff to come up. Don't worry, I have not quit those. I just haven't got time. I'll see you again soon. Big thanks to the growing join button community and those who have chosen to stick around for the V8 tier, and also their names being called out with some record numbers here. Wow, this is not going to be in exact order because I'm reading it upside down. We have Overlord, Terry01, J Pope, Davis Heister, Sinlab, Goofy Plays, Phoenix Shark, Shadow Jasper, iLook Van Heimlilk, Baja Blast, and Badger. Thank you everybody for your support. I appreciate it a lot. And yeah, I don't know what's coming up. What's good these days? Question for you and for me, if you're interested in answering. But for me, my daughter is going to be born in like less than 2 months, like a month and a week, maybe, something like that, which is crazy, and I get anxiety just thinking about that. But man, there's so much change coming up in my life. It's going to be insane. I don't know, keep me in check. If I start changing too much on the channel, let me know. I don't think my personality is going to change, but I know my sleep schedule is definitely going to, and that might affect my personality. We'll see. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. I'll see you again soon.